go into these situations, for the first time they're involved with this legal system, that is insane. Insane. And they confront the family court bar. Now, I've written a lot about guardians ad litem, and I've written a lot about the family court bar, that being the group of attorneys who perpetually represent people in family court. And because of what I write, although I get a lot of invitations to speak, and an award here and there, doesn't come from those folks, okay? Because I have described the family court bar as a cabal and a cartel. The way the family court bar works, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. And if I talk to lawyers, people will come and whisper to me that I'm right, but they don't. You don't want to say this publicly. The whole idea of the family court bar, for the most part, is to get out by 2:30 in the afternoon. It's for things to get worked out. It's for things to get mediated. You know, if I'm a family court lawyer and I'm going to the family court every day, cardinal rule is don't piss off the judge, okay? And I often wonder, you know, how many people went to the electric chair who were innocent because their lawyer didn't want to piss off the judge. And when I train law students and lawyers, I always tell them something. I said, you know, when I first started practicing law, I made myself a promise. I said, if I ever have to do anything as a lawyer, that means I never practice law again, but it's the right thing to do, then I'm going to do it. And I tell you, it's incredibly liberating because you don't have to worry about it anymore. You know, it's just, okay, I'm going to do it and I'll find something else to do. And being from Louisiana, I could have a cooking show. And I thought, in fact, I've tried to combine something with the Food Channel and Court TV and try to do something like that. I'm still working on that idea. I want to be like the legal Rachel Ray of some sort. And once you let go of that, and I always say, you know, you'd rather have the judges afraid of you than you be afraid of the judges. So once you let go of that and you actually do things like talk about the Constitution, and I think family law, somehow if you go to hang around family court, there must be something, I keep looking for it, that says that the Constitution doesn't apply in family court, because apparently that's what everybody believes. And you start holding the judge's feet to the fire, and you start insisting that the court function as a court. And, you know, you're not real popular. But that's what has to be done. The other thing is, there's this terrible thing called issue conflict of interest, where if I'm in family court all the time, and one day I represent the abuser, the next day I represent the abused, abuser, abused, abused, abuser. What side of the equation do you think is more lucrative? And why is that? Yeah, because you got the men have the money typically, more so, and the father typically gets the more aggressive litigator. The mother gets, quote, the best family lawyer in town who doesn't litigate because it's about mediation, compromise, and not about facts and things like this. So if I have parental alienation syndrome, okay, and I'm representing the abuser, well, I want to go use that in court, that parental alienation syndrome, because that's good stuff. See, because molesting your child is the only crime that comes in with a built-in defense. If you molest a child, the defense in every case is the mother made it up. It's built in. No matter what it is, you look at all the appellate court decisions, you just look at all the trials, the mother made it up. It's real handy, it's right there, it's built in to the crime. And you can get people to believe that. Okay? So if I'm the typical family court lawyer hanging around the family court, and that's all I do, then if I'm representing the victimized spouse or the parent who's trying to protect her kids, and they're using parental alienation syndrome against me, what do I do? Because if I go to court and I take all that stuff that says it's a bunch of nonsense and go to court and move to keep it out, and typically every time there's a motion to keep it out and all the documentation is presented, it's kept out. But then when I need the judge to believe it when I'm representing the abuser next week, what do? I have a conflict of interest. It's called an issue conflict of interest because I don't want to screw my more lucrative side of my practice by knocking out this PAS stuff. So who do you think gets screwed? It happens all the time. Okay? Now, part of small justice, part that was kept out was the fact that this Richard Gardner, and I have to tell you, I was the last attorney to cross-examine Richard Gardner before he committed suicide in New Jersey. And this was a case where, and this guy was a lunatic, a sheer lunatic who believed in pedophilia. He believed that pedophilia was the norm in the world, and actually wrote and lectured that if you have a child who's sexually abused, the only harm that comes to them is that they're not brought to orgasm and they're sexually frustrated. That the way to cure incest is to give the mother a vibrator so she can be satisfied, then the father won't have to turn to the child. He also says that you should teach children who have been sexually abused that unfortunately they've been born in the United States where this is looked down upon, and if they were born in the rest of the world they'd be like everybody else and it wouldn't be a big deal. And that if you're treating a man who's been caught molesting a child, you have to tell him that, again, unfortunately he's been born in the United States where we're very down on all this sort of stuff. He also says isn't it curious that the Jews are the only ones who are against incest? Just crazy, crazy stuff. And I just picked up one of the books that's up here, Sex Abuse Hysteria, the Salem Witch Trials, and wanted to read you a couple of Gardner's quotes here. It's very interesting what he says about guardians ad litem, the attorneys who are supposed to represent the kids. Very, very bad situation. And the Law Review article I wrote calling for the abolition of the guardians ad litem, and I think this is why I don't get a lot of judges inviting me places, is I compare the relationship between the judge and the guardian ad litem to the rhinoceros and the tick bird in the jungle, where the judge is the rhinoceros and the guardian ad litem is the tick bird, and they go through the grass and they stir up all the bugs, and then the tick bird gets to eat the bugs, that being the fees, and gets a free ride. They can't be sued and everything too, and then it saves the judge having to deal with these cases, and I'll just let the guardian ad litem. It's a very symbiotic relationship. I don't know. The way I wrote about it was, I said, that it's the law of the jungle, not the law of the land, that seems to control the relationship between the guardian ad litem and the judge. So, but Gardner here writes, what he writes about the guardian ad litem is the guardian ad litem has to forget everything he or she learned in law school and has to actually advocate contrary to what the child wants because of the special magic of parental alienation syndrome. The guardian ad litem, if they do what they were trained to do as lawyers, simply encourage parental alienation